it's pretty good. I like the intro music. I'm glad we settled on this one because it's real nice. Just real upbeat, gets you in the mood.
Right. It sets the good tone for the show.
Exactly. Because this is my third podcast that I've done, and then our second podcast that we have done together. So we're always in the process of revamping and all that fun stuff.
Well, that's the funny thing about podcasts. Like, everyone has one now because they're so easy to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we're literally doing this pretty much in my kitchen.
Well, it's the scenic room that you've set aside for it.
Right. All right. So we have an important story to talk about today.
Yeah.
You brought it up, and I thought it's pretty good. It has to do with one of my favorite foods, sushi.
Yes. I always like to check Yahoo News because there's so many bizarre things that you're like, why is Yahoo reporting on this?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're always glad that they do. You're just never certain as to why. But yeah, so the story that just browsing, skimming from Yahoo News is I will definitely eat sushi again. California woman hospitalized after eating 32 rolls at buffet.
See, my thing is, I've been to all-you-can-eat sushi. I don't know if I can eat 32 rolls. That's impressive.
That is a deep commitment. I went to sushi once. Went to have sushi once, and that was what really solidified for me that I really enjoy seafood. I just don't enjoy cold seafood. So like sushi, cocktail shrimp, cold crab, none of that is for me.
What about tuna salad?
Nah. Not even that really. Like I can do occasionally some cold crab. Like it depends on what I'm eating it with. But by and large, I'm just not a cold seafood guy.
It's very interesting. See, what I wonder is how much, or like, what was her plan? Was she going in to eat all this sushi? Because the thing is, when you go to an all-you-can-eat place, there's that mentality of I need to get my money's worth, and it almost becomes a game.
Yeah.
In itself.
Well, because with buffets, my mother and I always know how to play them.
Uh-huh.
So you go in, like, don't eat the whole day. You're ready to fill up.
Oh, wow. So you're like planning out from earlier in the day. Even.
Exactly.
That's smart.
I mean, because we'd go to all the buffets in Vegas.
Oh.
And they got some really good ones there. But,
that's the AAA buffets, right?
Yeah. And they have some really good Asian buffets there, too. But the people who run them are, like, hardcore and, like, real strict of, like, how they run it and everything. Because I was, like, 12 at the time or whatever. And they come in and they're measuring it by height, not by age. And my mom's like, well, he's under this. Isn't he a kid? And he's like, nope. They're this tall. Go eat.
And I imagine you've been kind of tall since a young age.
Yes. I have always been... quite tall, quite thin.
And see, that's not fair because you're tall and thin, so you'd be the type of person that doesn't eat a lot.
I mean, I can pack it away, but a lot of times I'm just going to eat a little bit and be done.
Right.
But that's where the second step of the plan is. So you prepare first by not eating the whole day. Second step of the plan is to bring in my mother's purse a bunch of Ziploc bags.
Funny thing is, knowing your mom, I can see her doing that.
Exactly. And then you take away whatever the best they had out that day at the buffet. You just take it home, and then you have a great microwave meal for later on.
Wow, yeah.
Although, technically, you're not supposed to do that because of FDA regulations, I believe. Because the food is meant to be eaten there and served with the type of food that they often serve. But we've never gotten food poisoning from it, so we're fine.
Yeah, a lot of those government regulations are stupid.
Yeah, but there are some buffets, though, that you're like, I don't want to miss out on this. This is the only place I can get it. Sometimes I don't want the whole buffet. I'm going to eat these leftovers. Because there was a, not quite Chuck E. Cheese, like the deluxe Chuck E. Cheese is what I'll call it.
Okay.
And they had rides and stuff, but the buffet, they had this mac and cheese pizza where they, like, put the noodles and stuff.
And this was in Vegas?
No, this was back here.
Oh, okay.
But they put the noodles and stuff on the pizza, and it's excellent because it's just a different texture, and it's more of a mac and cheese type cheese than a pizza cheese.
Oh, okay. I could see that working because when I was younger, I used to work at a pizza place, a local place, and we had a taco pizza.
Yeah.
So you'd make the pizza with like cheese and ground meat and taco seasoning, and then after it was done cooking, you would put like lettuce, chilies, and stuff. It sounds weird, but it was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, macaroni on pizza.
Yeah, it's excellent. So that's how I go about buffets and the like. But let's read on further what this woman says. Danielle Shapiro, 24, shared what happened in a TikTok on December 23rd, 2021. I like that this was on the first page of Yahoo News, but they're reporting on something that's almost a month old. Real up-to-date Yahoo on the
From
TikToks.
TikTok,
yeah. When she titled, "All You Can Eat Sushi Gone Wrong," according to the New York Post. The video has already been viewed more than 11.3 million times. Shapiro went to Sushi 85, a buffet restaurant in Mountain View, California, in December when her friend Amanda was visiting out of town. The all-you-can-eat sushi is about $50 a person, so Amanda and I had to make sure we got our money's worth, which meant eating a lot. Our dinner was about 2 hours long because we were so stuffed we had to keep taking breaks.
See, that is the important thing. Because a lot of times when you go to buffets, too, they have time limits.
Yeah, like I said, the Asian buffets in Vegas, like, they keep watch. Like, they don't explicitly say, like,
Right.
this amount of time, or at least they didn't used to. I think they might have stuck time limits on now.
Right.
But they'll walk over and just glare at you like you've done some evil sin.
So it's not exactly a hard-written rule. It's more of social pressure.
It is a lot of that. And then they have a thing on there that if you come for like lunch or whatever, you have to be out before dinner. Was a lot of them too.
Mm-hmm.
And so like at this time you got to be out of here because we're serving the next food, and you didn't pay for that food. You paid for the lunch food.
Yeah, exactly. Which is fair because a buffet is a little bit of a, I don't know how to put it, but it's not like going to a meal. Going to a buffet is an event.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of the buffet is the atmosphere. It's exciting in a strange way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're going to engorge yourself on food.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to be the downer that's like, all right, you've been here for 20 minutes. You need to get going here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can see it from the restaurant owner's perspective. Like, we can't have people hanging out here all day just grazing.
Exactly. Because I know a lot of the Korean barbecue places are all you can eat.
Yeah.
And they have just hour and a half, do what you want, and you're out.
Yeah.
But they're more upscale.
Yeah, which I think that helps.
That helps them to keep that rolling. The ones in Vegas, they were good and tasty, but they were not upscale. Like, it's the Asian buffet that you're like, I don't know what's Asian about pizza, but I'm all right with it.
Yeah. They'll be like, oh, we put some Oriental seasoning on it or something. But it's tricky, too, in Vegas, because you have the areas that are total top tier, super nice.
Oh, yeah.
All the way down to, well, it makes me think of that movie Vegas Vacation, National Lampoons, where Cousin Eddie's like the white trash guy.
Yeah.
And he talks to Clark. He's like, hey, we're going to go to a buffet. He's like, oh, great. But it's off the strip. And the food is just sort of nondescript yellow and blue. And he even brings a bag to put rolls in and stuff.
Exactly. It's a smart play.
Yeah.
So let's see. Shapiro reportedly ate 32 rolls, 4 gyozas, 1 bowl of edamame beans, 2 jalapeno poppers, and a bowl of miso soup during the all-you-can-eat night out.
I don't even know if you could really count the miso soup. That's just like a beverage.
Yeah, that's taking up the spaces in between.
Gyoza's good. 4 rolls or 4 gyozas is not too bad. And then edamame, you're just eating some beans basically in a bowl of them.
Yeah.
But the 32 rolls kind of depends on the rolls too, because there's definitely rolls that are more rich
Yeah.
than others.
Yeah, I noticed that when I had it. It was not the most pleasant experience again, but some of them I'm like, I can just pop this in and it's gone. The other one I'm like not enjoying it, so I had to really work through it. I'm like, oh, this is a journey. Because I can't quite remember what I got. I think I got eel or something.
So for you, is it like a texture thing? Or it's just a whole...
Yeah, I don't know. I've determined that I just don't like a lot of cold food,
Oh, so it's even cold food in general.
Most commonly, like, I love, like, grilled zucchini, grilled vegetables, stuff like that.
Right.
But just, like, I'm not going to snack on a chunk of broccoli.
Interesting.
Or like take a bite out of carrot. You
So
know?
no borscht.
I've never had it, so probably not.
It's that Russian cold
Yeah.
soup, or what's the Spanish one?
Oh,
Gazpacho.
yeah, gazpacho.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a fan of gazpacho.
Yeah.
That is not my meal. So after their dinner, Shapiro said they had to sit in her car for around half an hour because of how full they felt before going home. Shapiro said she began suffering from a stomachache after arriving at her boyfriend's house, where she spent the night. Shapiro noticed something was wrong the following day when she woke up at 6 a.m.
Oh, dang. That's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Because I have eaten a lot where your breathing is kind of labored, whatever. But by the time you get up the next day, you're fine.
Yeah, but if you're feeling it the next morning and you wake up at a different time the next morning,
Yeah.
that's when you're in it. My stomach and chest had intense pains, and it was hard to take deep breaths, she said. Her boyfriend and grandmother drove her to the hospital. She was diagnosed with GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease.
Oh, okay. So she already had an underlying condition. She just wasn't aware of it, sounds
All
like.
right, but I like that this is the way you find out.
Right.
This is like someone who's allergic to bees just smashes a hive and then says, all right, let's see what happens. And then they find out they're allergic to bees that way.
Yeah, this is probably the most American way to find out you have GERD.
Exactly.
Is by overeating at a buffet. This isn't going to happen in like the Sudan or something.
Precisely. GERD, a term used to describe chronic acid reflux, affects almost 20% of all Americans, according to Medical News Today. One of the most common symptoms of acid reflux is heartburn. Other symptoms include nausea, vomiting, breathing problems, difficulty, or pain when swallowing. That just felt like a medical ad that I'd see on TV.
Yeah.
A person who experiences 3 or more episodes of acid reflux in a week for a few weeks may have GERD.
That's exciting.
Now you know what you may have.
It's like an achievement that's been unlocked.
Exactly. Despite everything she has gone through, Shapiro declared that she will definitely eat sushi again. This experience has not ruined sushi for me or the all-you-can-eat sushi experience, she added. I did learn that next time I need to listen to my body and take things a little slower.
Well, that's good. We have a wrap up to the story. Lesson learned.
Yes.
And it's inspirational because she's getting back on that horse. She's not giving up.
Yes. That's the American spirit, saying that I have GERD. I found this out by eating 32 rolls of sushi, but by golly, I'm going to go back at it again.
I mean, this is really good because it follows the hero's journey, basically.
Pretty much.
I mean,
it's a tale to be told.
She goes through a trial, overcomes that, even though she's been injured, and comes to a new level of being that is greater than the one before.
Exactly. It's wisdom, growth, and just wonderful things all around.
Yeah.
I'm still definitely not going to try sushi. That is definitely not the lesson that I learned from it.
Well, what about warm sushi? Because they do have that.
Maybe I'll look into it,
okay.
But I'm not gonna go out of my way for sushi ever again.
Yeah, it's true because even so, the whole menu is basically one way. Even if you got tempura sushi, that's a subset of sushi.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense.
It's just not my scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I will have to abandon you next time you go for sushi.
Yeah.
But the next bit of news that I thought would be a good lengthy topic to discuss is Microsoft, the behemoth that they are, decided that they're going to buy Activision Blizzard, which now's the time to do it when they're in utter downward spiral of depression and dismay.
Death spiral.
Yeah, they I'm not sure they got a deal at like $68 billion. But it is definitely a lot less than they used to be worth.
Yeah, it's wild because for a while there, Blizzard, they are basically just printing cash.
Blizzard, throughout the entirety of high school, was my favorite developer.
Yeah, they were good.
They were on it. Diablo 3 was my jam. I don't know if I told you the story of how much I played Diablo 3 to the point where it was causing me physical problems.
Yeah, I played so much World of Warcraft that now whenever I use a mouse, I get wrist pains. I have to use a brace.
I had similar situation because Diablo 3 similar movement, you click to go everywhere. Um I was putting so much time that I remember I physically couldn't snap my fingers. Like it got to the point where I put my hands in the motion to snap, and that's as far as I could get. Like I could put my thumb and my middle finger together, and no more.
That's a true gamer, thing right there because football players, knocked unconscious, hockey, knock out teeth, video games, you can't snap.
Exactly.
It's on that level.
But they were on it for all of high school. Played so much Diablo 3. I am an addict for card games, so Hearthstone. I poured so much money into it that I never needed to pour money into it again. Because the wonderful thing about a digital card game is that you can recycle your cards.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, I was just done and didn't need to buy any more. But I put tons of time into that, and then Overwatch was great. And then they decided to go a horrible route of how they should update the game and make changes.
Yeah, what do you think was the beginning of the end? What was the harbinger of?
Well, they decided to pander to the community of the alphabet.
The alphabet people.
Yes, they decided that this is going to be the game we're going to do it to. Any negative backlash, we can just say that this character is gay now.
That being Overwatch?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the initial downtrend of it.
Yeah, that's true, because Overwatch's individual characters have a backstory and stuff, because WoW, it doesn't really make sense to do that too. Diablo doesn't really make sense to do that too.
So this was their building a big, cool world, and it was interesting. And the gameplay was phenomenal for a while. And then they decided, you know what we need to do? We need to pay attention to the esports professionals and update the game entirely based on that. Not based on what the community wants, not based on or what the majority of the community wants, based on what the vocal minority of awful people want.
Yeah.
Which is to basically emulate esports because you know what? They can make it someday.
Yeah.
And because of that, they added things like roll queue and made quick play, which is, the fun, easy, get into it, get out mode. They basically made it ranked, but without an actual rank tied to it.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. Again, they just kept adding characters that weren't as fun. There was just a lot of nonsense with it. And then Blizzard decided to go and betray its community with the announcement of Diablo on the phone.
Oh.
Before they announced Diablo 4.
Don't you guys have phones?
Don't you guys have phones?
That'll
that was
infamous forever.
That, and then banning streamers for all of their political views of, supporting freedom.
That was a guy that won Hearthstone, right?
Yeah, he was a Hearthstone champion, and he was a commentator. Or no, he was a champion competing high rank or whatever.
Yeah.
And he just said free Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's when all the Hong Kong protests were going on.
This was the height of the Hong Kong stuff. And so they immediately shut down the stream, banned him, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, that's cool.
Yeah, which is funny because, people speak about their topics or whatever. It's fine. But it's like, oh, we can't talk about this one thing. We're going to shut. They took away his title, didn't they? And
they took away his winnings, I believe.
Yeah.
And all this nonsense. And then Activision, alongside them, decided, all right, you know what we can do to make us go even further down in our public image? Is we can have a lot of sexual misconduct that is atrocious, easily provable, gonna go to court over it, and a whole lot more problems are gonna just spiral and ruin the workplace even further and all of that. I was floored. I'm like, wow, I'm glad I've been boycotting Blizzard for a few years already. So
one thing I love is these companies that go all woke, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
The people there on their front, they say, the politically correct things or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But in real life, they're terrible people.
It's all a facade. It's all a masquerade.
Yeah.
That's, again, Overwatch was the pinnacle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever the community had backlash, they suddenly would release a comic, and guess what? Turns out that character is gay. Could you believe it? Neither could the writers.
It's so pandering because I can't remember the principle in story writing, but it's like in most stories, people don't eat.
Yes.
And it's not that people in that world, it doesn't mean that people don't eat. It's just that what does advance the story through eating? There might be a scene with eating, but they're not going to talk about eating every chapter.
Yes.
Because what does that have to do with the story and advance the character and stuff?
Precisely. And again, there are exceptions to these things, like Lord of the Rings, potatoes and such.
Right, yeah, because it was worked into the story.
Exactly. It's worked into the story, whereas here it's tack it on to fix all the problems rather than...
Yeah. I would almost have more respect if that was an actual part of their character. They worked it out, talked about maybe it was difficult growing up or something like that. But it's just, here's this whole character, and then we're just going to pin you're gay on it. Or
exactly. Whatever they want to throw on there.
They want to put it. It's lazy writing.
Exactly. And so, all of this to say that I'm interested. I'm a little concerned that Microsoft is just buying up every company they can under the sun, because they recently bought Bethesda, so they own all of Skyrim and Fallout and all that. Now they have Activision Blizzard.
It's terrible.
Granted, the funniest thing about Microsoft buying these companies is that they've gotten them to a better work state, because the first thing that Activision tweets out is like this apology to the community as soon as this was announced. Like, we're sorry, Call of Duty community, for the problems of COD. And it's like, oh,
that's interesting.
Took someone to actually slap you across the face from higher up instead of down below to get that fixed.
Yeah. But it's just crazy to think about different areas and everything. Seems like so many, entertainment, from sports to video games, whatever, there's just been this whole thing of like denigrating its fan base. The only one I can think of that hasn't done it is UFC. But so many others.
Yeah.
It's like, here, let's just alienate part of our fan base.
Yeah. And granted, Microsoft has surprisingly been better about it.
That's good.
Which was not expecting, because with Halo is phenomenal, the new one, Halo Infinite.
Oh, okay.
Love it. Absolutely looking to be possibly my favorite Halo campaign. For sure my favorite Halo multiplayer.
Wow.
Gameplay-wise. There are a lot of things surrounding it, like the store that you can buy cosmetics in and all of these other host of problems, the progression system, all of that, which is nonsense. But 343, the company that makes it, has actually listened, which is a miracle.
Wow.
They've been very forthcoming, which is what Blizzard used to do with Overwatch. They'd always have their developer, Jeff Kaplan, who is the head of the team, come out and say, these are the changes we've been hearing you, this is what we're looking to do, let us know feedback, all of that stuff, and they were very forthcoming. Then Jeff Kaplan left before everything went down at Blizzard, among other notable devs, and I'm starting to get the picture as to why.
Yeah, because that's one thing I remember about playing World of Warcraft was basically they would have their forum, and you can put in whatever concept you want, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it seems like the ones that are more popular, they would just get more responses, more of that type of thing.
Exactly.
And then in the next patch, it would come out. Because I can remember, like cloth or something would only go to 5 in a stack. And they're like, please, make it 20 in a stack. And they're like, you got it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a different age of listening to the community versus telling the community, no, like it.
Yeah.
Like it the way that we made it.
Yeah, because I think, I don't know, it's hard to get into people's heads, but I think there's a certain strain of thinking that goes, I know what's good for things. We need to do this. Forget what the stupid, people playing the game. They're just dumb. They don't know what they want.
Exactly.
We need to do this important thing, whatever it is.
That's why I play far more indie games than anything else nowadays, just because they're more interesting concepts, because they can do whatever they want, because they're taking a venture in their own to make it, and because they're people who played games first and foremost and grew into that passion and wanted to make their own rather
Yeah.
than join a team that makes games. You can see that and understand it, and they make the changes that they know are good
Yeah.
rather than corporate says this will work.
Yeah, they're driven a lot more by passion rather than, some guy who maybe, I don't know, worked at El Pollo Loco in their, corporate structure,
Yeah.
restructured some things like, oh, let's get this guy. He knows nothing about video games, how it works or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have to have a certain level of passion. And it's not even just video games, whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
And I think that's what happens sometimes is people get involved who they just don't know what the heck's going on.
Yeah. That's why, I mean, you see it a lot in movies too right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's why Dune was great, was because they basically said, all right, Mr. Director, Denis Villeneuve,
Mm-hmm.
you have done a lot. You've shown that you have a real eye for directing and going stylistically unique places, really talented. Just do what you want.
Yeah.
Have fun with it. Same thing with Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
They basically said, all right, go make the movie you want.
Yeah, I think that's really one of the differences is that if you just let people who are passionate about what it is and then you just let them go.
Mm-hmm.
Because we watched talking about Mad Max, we watched the making of the original Mad Max. Well, there was a couple of them, the first two.
It was the Road Warrior.
Yeah, and it's just interesting hearing him talk about it because at the end of the day, it was just something they wanted to do.
Exactly.
And make something good.
Yeah.
And it's either, I don't know, get some stupid job or try and make this awesome thing. Yeah. And there's so many things that, like, I didn't know that they wanted to make it in a city, but they couldn't afford it, so they filmed it in the countryside.
Yeah.
And then that became a whole aesthetic for it.
Mm-hmm. Necessity is the mother of innovation.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good discussion for a first episode. I think we learned a lot.
Well,
we grew as people.
We did.
So
let me play some Lawrence Welk to.
There we go. To play us out.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, like the music says, good night until we meet again.
Exactly.